Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. If you've been anywhere near the tech space lately, you've definitely heard the term Agentic AI. It's practically everywhere, right? Plastered across headlines, whispered reverently in boardrooms. It sounds like just another piece of heavy industry jargon. But today, we're completely ditching the buzzwords. We're going to build a crystal clear mental model together. By the time we wrap up, you won't just know the term. You are going to understand exactly why this represents the next massive leap in digital work. Let's get into it.
Think about the AI we use right now. Most of it is basically a passive, albeit very smart, tool. You ask, it answers. Is it helpful? Absolutely. But an agent? An agent is a completely different beast. An agent actually pursues an outcome. It doesn't just sit there twiddling its thumbs waiting for your next prompt to tell it what to do. It takes the initiative to move toward a specific goal. Keep that fundamental contrast in your head, because it changes absolutely everything about how we interact with software.
Okay, let's dive into this structural roadmap so we can unpack this shift step by step. We're going to start with the turning point. Then we'll look under the hood at the anatomy of an agent, explore how it's reshaping real work, and finally wrap up with the new human role. All right, section 1, the turning point, from smart tool to digital process. This is where we shatter the current view of AI as simply a really fancy answering machine. To truly grasp this leap in functionality, think about the tools you use every single day. Older AI is basically like a calculator, giving you a number, or maybe a static map showing you a location. They are highly useful, for sure, but they are completely passive. They just wait for you. Agentic AI, however, functions way more like a project manager or a live turn-by-turn navigator. It doesn't just hand you a random data point and say good luck. It actively alters the actual flow of your work to make sure you arrive at your destination. It really all boils down to this. A chatbot answers, but an agent moves toward a goal. This single, simple contrast completely overhauls our entire idea of what artificial intelligence is even capable of. Once you truly internalize this, you stop seeing AI as just a really impressive text generator. Instead, you start seeing it as a totally new kind of digital process, one that can plan, act, adjust, and actually see a sequence all the way through to completion. Let's move on to section 2, anatomy of an agent, the 6 core ingredients. We're going to strip away all the marketing hype and look at the exact mechanical pieces that make a system truly agentic. If you dig right past the jargon, Agentic AI is actually built from just 6 core ingredients. Let's walk through them. First up, a goal. A standard chatbot can give you a pristine definition of what pasta is, but an agent, it actually wants to cook the meal for you. The goal organizes its behavior. Second is choice. Imagine a person navigating a really busy city. An agent has to actively decide its next move from several different options, rather than just reacting blindly. Third, action. Think of a thermostat that actually kicks on the heat, rather than just telling you the room is cold. An agent has to affect the world it operates in. Fourth is feedback. Just like adjusting your aim after missing a basketball shot, the agent checks if its move actually helped. Fifth, continuity. Like tidying up a messy room, you need a memory of what you've already put away so you don't repeat the work. And finally, tools. Just like a skilled worker in a workshop, an agent extends its reach by using tools, like search engines, databases, or even your calendar. Put all these together, and a goal turns a simple robotic response into a true dynamic pursuit.
Zooming in on that feedback ingredient for a second, we hit a really fundamental truth. Action without feedback is just guessing, but action with feedback, that becomes adaptation. Any real agent has to constantly notice whether its actions are actually working out. Without that crucial loop of attempting, observing, and then correcting, the system is essentially flying blind. It literally wouldn't have a clue if it's making real progress or just making a catastrophic mistake over and over again.
And that builds directly into our next core principle, sounding like you are reasoning. Well, it just isn't enough anymore. A lot of legacy systems can generate text that mimics deep thought beautifully, but thinking without action is only planning. Agentic AI is a real game changer precisely because it connects that digital thought to actual digital movement and tool use. It actively bridges the gap between understanding a problem and actually doing something about it. Let's take this out of the realm of theory and into reality with section 3, reshaping real work, the coordination layer. This is where we see exactly why this tech is going to fundamentally change your daily business tasks.
A lot of people think work is simply typing a query, finding the right answer, and moving on. But real work isn't just finding a single answer. Real work is a messy, complicated sequence of connected decisions. You have to figure out what actually matters, gather whatever information is missing, choose the smartest next step, execute it, check if it worked, adjust on the fly, and then do the whole shebang all over again. That messy sequence is exactly the kind of shape agentic systems are built to handle.
This introduces a massively important concept, the coordination layer. Look, a lot of work isn't hard because people lack intelligence. It's hard because the pieces just refuse to stay connected. Someone constantly has to remember the goal, check the progress, and notice the missing steps. That is the hidden, exhausting overhead of work. Agentic AI begins to bundle this coordination layer together. It drastically reduces the friction, the human forgetfulness, and those endless delays between our initial intent and the final action.
Let's make this totally concrete. Imagine Maya runs an online store. Now, a normal AI can write a very polite apology email for delayed shipment. Sure. But Maya still has to manage the fallout and do all the tedious clicking. An agentic system, however, acts like a tireless operations assistant. It can notice a pattern in customer complaints, draft the response, flag the underlying product issue to the warehouse, and even suggest a workflow for refunds, all on its own. It's carrying an entire process forward, not just handing over an isolated piece of text.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it points to the ultimate business shift. With older AI, we always asked output questions, right? Is this text well written? Is the code correct? But agentic systems force us to ask outcome questions. Did the task actually move forward? Did the goal get closer? This is a massive structural shift from judging AI by its static outputs to judging it by its tangible outcomes.
All right, finally, let's look at Section 4, the new human role, shaping systems of action. We really need to address the elephant in the room here, human obsolescence, and look at how our jobs are actually going to change. When people hear the phrase agentic AI, they often picture a machine just taking over the entire job, leaving us in the dust. But let's reframe that narrative entirely, because here is the new reality. Humans will set the overarching goals. Humans will define the system's boundaries. Humans will step in to review the most critical decisions. Meanwhile, the agents, they'll carry out the tedious, multi-step coordination work inside those boundaries. So you aren't being replaced. You are simply delegating that hidden, exhausting coordination work.
It all boils down to this elegant new paradigm. Humans provide direction. Agents provide continuity. Your leverage shifts entirely. Instead of being the person frantically clicking every single button and managing every tiny substep of a project, you become the director. You are the one deciding what counts as success, what the system is allowed to do, and exactly where the agent should stop and ask for your help.
And that wraps up our explainer. We've journeyed all the way from a passive chatbot to an active, goal-seeking agent, and explored how that transforms the very nature of digital work. So, I'll leave you with this provocative thought. Now that you are no longer just pushing buttons but actively shaping systems of action, what new goals will you set for your own digital workflows? Think about that as you log into your tasks tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep exploring.